Hey everybody, how you doing? We are right up at pretty much the end now. So let's get to it. We have a bunch of things to talk about. First, this is going to be our last regular class video. Tomorrow, Thursday, is a scheduled reading day. The university schedules a reading day before finals week to give you guys an opportunity to study. And there is a class day scheduled for Friday, but I've gotten a note from the English department chairman saying that, he's not really sure why there's a class day after a reading day and we can do what we want with it. So what I want to do is give you Friday to prepare for finals, to work on essay 4, to do what you need to do and not have to sit through an essay and do homework. So no video Friday. There will be a video on Wednesday of next week, which is our scheduled day for finals. All right, and I'll go over the dates again in just a moment. First, though, let's go through the questions that you sent me for today. Then we'll talk about dates, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. So here are the questions you sent me. I'm going to speed run all of them, so let's see how quickly we can get through these. Number 1, can I include how there are people who don't vote and because how young teen don't vote? I don't know what you mean. I can't answer that. I have no idea what you're trying to ask me. If you'd like to try to rephrase that question, feel free to email me and I'll see if I can answer that. Second, how are the essay 4 revisions going to work if it's our final paper? I thought the last paper we submit couldn't be revised. What I meant was, yes, you will write a revision of your essay 4 draft, but you will not be able to revise the graded copy of the draft, the way I've been letting you do with your other papers. With essays 1 through 3, you got the graded copy back. If you didn't like the grade, you're able to revise it again to get a higher grade. You can't do that for essay 4, obviously, because you're handing it in on the last day. So you've written the essay 4 draft. You've handed that in today. You've handed that in today. Now you will revise that draft, hand it in during our final, the day of our final exam meeting. That will be graded and that will be it. You cannot revise the graded copy. Okay, so your revision of essay 4 is due on May 13th by 6 p.m. And then it will be graded and that grade will stand. Next, when is the latest I can submit a revision? The revisions for each essay has a due date. I'll accept late papers after that due date, but the late submission will count in your grade, okay? Because each essay has a due date. If you hand it in after that due date, I'll accept it, but the lateness will count as part of your grade for that essay. However, please pay very strict attention to this. I will accept no essays after May 13th at 6 p.m. That's our final exam period. I will accept no late essays after May 13th at 6 p.m. unless you clear it with me first. You need to talk to me personally first if you think you're going to hand something in after May 13th at 6 p.m. After May 13th at 6 p.m., any essay that I don't have is an F, period, done, okay? Unless you speak to me first, right? So it's very simple. Speak to me first, or every missing paper after May 13th at 6 p.m. is just an automatic F because I don't have it, right? Okay, next question. Sometimes I can have good points and evidence for my points, but it is not long enough to reach the word count. How do I express my writing in a longer way without repeating myself over and over? All right. You don't want to express your writing in a longer way. What you want to do is take the good points and evidence that you say you have and discuss them further, explain them further, support them further, develop them further. Okay? Make sure that with each of these good points and with each good piece of evidence, you're not just telling me things. You have to convince me that each of those points are true. Okay? You're using those points to convince me that your thesis is true. Make sure that you are convincing me that each of those points and pieces of evidence is true. Don't just tell me something. Convince me of it. Excuse me. Support it. Develop it. Explain it. Discuss it further. Right. So the trick is not to make your writing longer. The trick is not to write what you have longer. The trick is to develop it further. Tell me more about it so that each time you make one of these good points, I'm convinced. Yeah, that point's valid, that point's valid, that point's valid, therefore the thesis must be valid. Okay? If you have further questions about that, let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, next, I am struggling with how to conclude my essays. What kind of structure should we have for our final paragraph? And how does it compare to our introductions? It's a good question. A good conclusion should summarize your essay. It should make a comment on your thesis that leaves your reader thinking about it. A really good conclusion will have the reader continuing the conversation of that essay in their head, even after they've finished the essay and set it down and walked away from it. A really good essay will keep the reader thinking about that thesis after they've finished the essay. All right. So, you know, see if there's some point you can make about the thesis that will keep them thinking about it. And it's never a bad idea to refer back to something that's in the introduction. If you've used some sort of example or illustration or quote or allusion or some sort of reference in your introduction, refer to it again in your conclusion. It's a nice way to tell the reader that you know, the argument in favor of my thesis is now drawing to a close if you refer back to that original thing that you had in the introduction. Right? Okay, next. I have a question about the body of the essay using essay 3 as an example. My peer commented that my essay had too many ideas in one paragraph, and I tried to break it up into 4 paragraphs instead of 3. So for your essays and future essays like that one, what's the best way to break the essay apart? I want to avoid having a lot of paragraphs, and I'm not sure how many is normal to have. Another excellent question. Remember, as we've been discussing, each paragraph should develop and support one idea and one idea only. So if you find yourself writing one long paragraph with a bunch of ideas and you break that up into shorter, you know, you break that up into separate paragraphs, you know, separate paragraphs with separate ideas, you know, you're probably going to wind up with a bunch of short paragraphs. You don't want that because you want each of those ideas to be developed sufficiently. So what you should do is go back and look at all of those short paragraphs, see which ideas are most important, and then develop those further. Develop the important points, and then the ones that aren't as important, cut those out. You don't want just a bunch of short paragraphs of 1 or 2 sentences. You want good, meaty paragraphs that develop ideas fully. So if you find yourself with breaking up long paragraphs into a bunch of small paragraphs, each of which has an idea of its own. Develop those ideas further, and then just cut out the ones that, you know, maybe aren't as necessary. There's no normal number of paragraphs to have in an essay. I will tell you, generally, very generally speaking, 2 or 3 per page is usually what winds up happening on an academic paper at, you know, the level you're at, generally. So if you see there are 2 or 3 paragraphs per page, you're probably doing it right. If you see like 6 short paragraphs, then you need to develop some further. If you see that you have a paragraph that takes up a page and a half, you've probably got more than one idea in it, and you want to re-examine that, okay? But that's a good question, and person who asked that question, if you have further questions about that, by all means, let me know, and we can talk about it. And we can talk about it with your specific essay as an example, if you like. Next, what are some good ways to transition from each main idea to the next one in this essay? The easiest way to answer that question is this. The best way to transition from one paragraph to the next is by using the way that makes the most amount of sense in your explanation of your thesis. Okay, remember, you have a thesis, now explain it step by step in the most logical fashion. If you do that, the transitions should be fairly obvious to you, right? If you have a thesis that you're starting with, you're using your essay to explain it, and when you're explaining something, there's a logical fashion to your explanation that will kind of dictate what the transitions should be. And just as an example, our semester has been an explanation of the basic way to write a thesis-driven essay. Start with a thesis, create a structure, draft the essay in that structure, review that draft, you know, from start to finish, with starting with your introduction, reviewing the paragraphs, reviewing the conclusion, do whatever revisions you have to make. If it's not working, throw it out and start a new one. If it's kind of working, but you need to go back and draft a bit more, do that. Then move on to proofreading and editing, and then you have your finished product. It's not a linear process. It's one where you have to jump from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, back to step 1. And we talked about that in class. But our class, hopefully, had a logical procession from one part of writing the essay to the next, starting with your thesis, you know, here, and going down to proofreading paragraphs, sentences, and words, you know, here. So again, your essay is a defense, an explanation of your thesis. Explain it to the reader step by step. If you're doing that, you should find logical ways to proceed from each step to the next, all right? Again, a very good question, a complex one. If a person who asked that question, if you have questions about your specific draft, transitioning in paragraphs, as you revise your essay let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about that too, all right? And then the last question, when citing quotes, should we put it in italics or normal text? this is a great question, because one of the things we were supposed to do this semester, and we just didn't get to it, is review MLA style of citation. And obviously we're not going to get to do that, but very simply, the quotations should just be in quotation marks, not italicized. But if you're quoting something, should be in quotation marks. Citations within the text should be made with parentheses. For instance, if you quote someone, you have the quotation, you have quote, you have whatever they said, close quote, and then after that you have in parentheses their name. Just their name, actually, their last name. Then at the end of the paper, you have a list of works cited, which begins, last name, first name. So if you quote me in your essay, right after my quote, it says Ruscoe in parentheses, and then I can look at the work cited, look down the list of people in work cited. I see Ruscoe because it's alphabetized. I see Ruscoe, and I can see where it came from. I am not requiring you to use MLA style in this essay. If you want to get used to doing it, because that's pretty much what you'll be using in all your academic papers, you can go to this website, style.mla.org. All right, and it's got a lot of great resources that tell you how to cite books, magazines, films, websites. It will tell you how to cite these things. So you can go to style.mla.org, and it'll tell you how to do that. Okay. Today's attendance question for our final, well, it won't be our final, our attendance question for our final class video is this. Tell me what our room number was. What was our room number in our old room when we used to actually meet as humans in the same room under the same roof? What was our classroom number? Email that to me at, again, mruscoe at ENG112@gmail.com, and you will be marked as present for this video. Now, what are we doing going forward? Your essay 4 draft is due today by 6 p.m. Friday, the 8th, is the last day that I will accept graded copies, revisions of graded copies of essay 2. If you got essay 2 back, you didn't like the grade, you want to revise it, Friday is the last day I'll accept that. Our final exam date is Wednesday, May 13th, a week from today. Your essay 4 revision is due by 6 p.m. And I know I haven't gotten essay 3 back, but I promise you I'm going to get you that back soon. I'm looking at hopefully by Saturday at the latest. Okay. If you don't like the grade on essay 3 and you want to revise it again for a new grade, the due date for that will also be our final exam period, Wednesday, May 13th at 6 p.m. I will accept no papers at all after that unless you've made some sort of arrangement with me beforehand. Please submit your essay to the appropriate place on Blackboard. I have a place on Blackboard that says submit essay 4 revision here. Do not submit essay 4 to the essay 4 assignment page where I gave you the assignment. Don't make me search all over the place in Blackboard for your essays, because I may not find it. If you don't put it in the right place, I may not find it because Blackboard, right? I don't like Blackboard. So if you put it in the right place, we know I'll find it, and you will definitely get a grade for it. So put it in the appropriate, submit it to the appropriate place in Blackboard. And I'm going to ask you again, please make sure you submit it in docx format. I have already had a person today hand in their SA4 draft in PDF format. Do not hand in SA4 in PDF format. Just please don't. I've been asking you literally since the first day of class to submit things in docx format. There should be no excuse now for you guys handing it stuff in anything other than docx format, okay? There will be a video for our final exam, on our final exam date, all right? So this is our last video, our last regular class video. There will be a very short video on our final exam date. All right, so watch for that. Watch it, and that's it. All right, that's all I have to teach you about writing. So hopefully we're going to take a look at your SA4 and your SA4 revisions rather, and you will be a better writer in SA4 than you were the first day I met you way back in August. All right, what a semester. Okay, that's it. Any questions or problems, please, by all means, email me at that email address. I am happy to talk to you whenever we can set up a time to talk. All right. If you have questions or problems with SA4 or anything else, I will be more than happy to talk with you up until our final exam day. All right. I hope everyone's safe and healthy, and I will see you all here on YouTube in a week. All right. Take care. Bye.